You should hear what keeps him up at night.
This is what keeps me up at night. I don't understand how my fellow Americans, I don't even understand how this election is close. And yes, I'm voting for you, but I would also vote for that wall over there.
Well, he's half right. We do need a wall. To keep out gang members, fentanyl dealers, human traffickers, and Anna Navarro. What's funny, though, is that Stern actually thought that was a compliment. Stern has become such a wussified sycophant, he doesn't realize that telling Kamala that he'd vote for a wall is telling her that he knows she's as dumb as one.
Howard Stern built his empire on pure shock, rebellion, and a fearless defiance of authority. But when Greg Gutfeld took aim at the so-called king of controversy, Stern went completely silent. No fiery comeback, no thunderous outrage, just a silence that echoed louder than any rant. In a live TV moment that stunned audiences, Gutfeld didn't just question Stern's transformation, he exposed it as a sellout move. The rebel had become the very system he once tore apart, and Gutfeld lit the fuse. What happens when the uncensored icon gets out-rebelled on his own stage?
But that's how Stern can call snacking with celebs at a fancy restaurant exhausting. Exhausting. Like he finished the overnight shift in a coal mine, or hearing Kat talk about her pets.
It's fair.
But I get it, life is tough, especially when you've been cut off from the world for 2 years in a $20 million beach house. I mean, you have no idea how tiring it is walking all the way from the wine cellar to the tennis court and back.
Some TV moments disappear in seconds, gone before they even sink in. But then there are those rare explosions that crash into pop culture like a meteor. Bright, loud, and impossible to ignore. The showdown between Greg Gutfeld and Howard Stern on live TV was one of those jaw-dropping moments. This wasn't background noise, it was a full-on cultural collision. Two media giants from completely different worlds went head-to-head, and only one walked away still shining among the stars. For decades, Howard Stern ruled as the self-proclaimed king of all media, but that crown suddenly looked shaky.
But it is incredibly brave to take this stance after you've made $300–400 million not being woke, right? Loving Donald Trump, exploiting the mentally ill, wearing blackface. Look at the crop of woke comments, whether it's Stern or Jimmy Kimmel, his BFF, Sarah Silverman, Joy Behar, Michael Ian Black. What do they all have in common? They wore blackface. And then they went woke. It's not a chicken or egg thing there. You know what order it came. So I call this BFR. It's blackface reparations. There's nothing in Stern's previous career that could withstand this modern witch hunt that he now embraces. So this is a form of restitution. Maybe he says, if I'm woke too, the crocodile will eat me last. But they always do eat. But I get it. He flipped from populist to elitist because now he's with elitists.
If you're enjoying this takedown, smash that subscribe button now. Stern built his empire by daring to do what no one else had the nerve to try. He was the loud, raw voice of rebellion, the unfiltered outlet for a generation sick of playing by the rules. His name became a symbol of chaos, defiance, and controversy. People either adored him or despised him, but nobody could ignore him. Yet here's the twist with rebel royalty. Stay on the throne too long, and that sharp edge begins to fade. Over time, Stern started to change. Not overnight, but slowly, surely, and unmistakably.
I will say this, Dagan. I thank God for Howard Stern because he does make me feel normal by comparison. Because I'm like the Fox recluse. I don't do anything. I don't go anywhere. But he makes me look like, Pete Davidson on a...
Yeah, he's a germaphobe. Like, his wife rescues cats. That's her job, apparently, her thing. But you can get toxoplasmosis.
That's true.
Cryptosporidiosis.
AIDS. No, you can't.
No,
but
you can't get. But you can get.
I mean, what are the chances I get that again?
Like a lot of diarrhea related.
From loudmouth outsider to polished celebrity interviewer, Howard Stern transformed from blasting the system to rubbing shoulders with Hollywood's elite. The man who once erupted live on air now often comes across like a perfectly rehearsed talk show host. And Greg Gutfeld noticed. It was the glaring crack in Stern's once unshakable armor. Gutfeld, loved or hated, has mastered the art of televised combat. He's not just a commentator, he's part late-night jester, part wrecking ball. He doesn't debate, he slices, mocks, and exposes with precision. His show is a fiery blend of sarcasm, satire, and brutal commentary. Gutfeld built his empire by torching sacred cows and igniting flames no one else dared to touch. So when Stern's name slipped into one of his segments, and stayed there, the trap was set. What started as a passing jab turned into a calculated surgical takedown. Gutfeld didn't just ask questions, he shredded Stern's image, mocking the former Chaos King for preaching conformity from a luxury penthouse.
On his radio show, Howard Stern defended wokeism, saying it's a compliment when someone calls him woke. Listen.
If woke means I can't get behind Trump, which is what I think it means, or that I support people who want to be transgender, or I'm for the vaccine, dude, call.
This wasn't some offhand joke. Gutfeld went in hard and didn't hold back. He didn't treat Stern like a legend. He turned him into a warning sign. The message hit with precision. Howard Stern, once the fearless rebel, had become the very thing he used to destroy. And in Gutfeld's world, that's the ultimate betrayal. Selling out, softening up, blending into the machine he once fought against. Yet Gutfeld didn't need to scream or rage. He was sharp, calm, and chillingly precise. Like a surgeon with a blade, he cut straight to the truth. He set the old Stern, wild, reckless, untamed, a terror to elites and censors, against the new version, smiling alongside the very stars he once roasted. It wasn't loud, it was devastatingly quiet, a cold, brutal dismantling of a legacy built on chaos, now tamed by respectability. The irony was blinding. The man who mocked phoniness now wore the same mask. Gutfeld didn't exaggerate, he simply revealed it. The symbolism hit like a freight train. The shock jock who once spat on the red carpet was now rolling it out for himself.
But Stern being holed up in his house that long, it explains a lot of things, like how you forget how other people live, especially in hard times like a pandemic. For the longest time, 2 years in fact, the same time Stern's been AWOL, I wondered where he went. Not physically, but mentally. I bet you did too. Remember his screeds about COVID? They were epic and angry, and not to mention wrong.
When are we going to stop putting up with the idiots in this country and just say, it's mandatory to get vaccinated? F them, f their freedom. I want my freedom to.
The man who once wore rebellion like a crown now seemed obsessed with one thing: approval. Hollywood's approval, corporate approval, the applause of the mainstream. And that's what made Gutfeld's strike cut even deeper. His show thrives on defiance, roasting sacred cows and turning them into punchlines. So when he locked onto Stern, it wasn't just a feud, it was a generational slap in the face. One voice accusing another of losing its soul. The blow wasn't just personal, it was philosophical. And this time, Stern had nothing to say. No fire, no fury. Just an eerie silence that roared louder than any outburst. Gutfeld didn't need to declare victory. The silence did it for him. Viewers saw something raw and shocking in Stern's quiet retreat, and that became the knockout moment. The once loudest critic in any room was now the one being exposed, and it hit like a punch to the gut. Audiences watched as Gutfeld painted Stern as a shadow of the rebel he used to be. It wasn't flashy, it was cold, surgical, and brutally honest. And that cut deep, not just for fans, but for anyone who's ever watched a rebel trade fire for comfort.
Even when I watch them on Saturday Night Live with the where they have Maya Rudolph playing you, I hate it. I don't want you being made fun of.
Oh my God.
There's too much at stake. I believe the entire future of this country right now, I mean, as America, land of the free, home of the brave, I think it's literally on the line.
So a guy who's supposed to be funny for a living now claims her candidacy is too important to joke about. This is a guy who once joked right after the Columbine massacre that the killers should have raped the students before killing them. Not that I like that Stern, but this pendulum swing from saying the most tasteless thing in the universe to putting your balls in a Tic Tac container. You gotta wonder what's going on here. It's striking that the king of the most misogynistic humor ever now turns into a breathless over a progressive, hopelessly shallow candidate.
Stern built his empire back when breaking the rules came with real consequences. FCC fines, bans, and furious sponsors breathing down his neck. But that pressure only made him stronger. Gutfeld, on the other hand, rose in a new era, one ruled by cancel culture, outrage mobs, and social media trials. He didn't depend on shock value. He used sarcasm like a blade, mocking instead of raging, exposing instead of exploding. This wasn't just two media titans colliding. It was a clash between two generations of rebellion. Gutfeld represents the new digital uprising. Fast, slick, viral, and merciless. Armed with memes and truth bombs that expose hypocrisy in seconds. The audience watched it unfold like a courtroom drama without a judge. Just two gladiators and millions of spectators holding the verdict. But what cut Stern the deepest? Gutfeld didn't trash his past. He respected it. And that's where the real pain hit. Because the insult lived in the comparison.
Happy Friday, America! Oh man, tonight is a special night. It's Feminine Friday, where all the panelists are women. Tonight we have Kennedy. Yeah! David McDowell. Kat Tim. And Janine Garofalo. All right.
You're
A long way for a meat joke. Okay, I hope you had a good week. I did, and no thanks to Howard Stern. True, the New York Post reported that Stern hit a chic restaurant in NYC with a crew of A-listers, including Jimmy Kimmel, Jennifer Aniston, Jon Hamm, Justin Theroux, Jason Bateman. I was not invited. I guess.
Gutfeld made his point crystal clear. The old Stern would have ripped this polished new version apart without hesitation. Now sitting in designer hoodies on satellite radio, chatting comfortably with Hollywood's elite, he looks almost unrecognizable. The original Stern wouldn't have even recognized this man. Instead of tearing into celebrities, he now gently interviews them like a friendly host at a charity gala. To Gutfeld, Stern had gone from a cultural sniper to a quiet media monk, silent, styled, and strangely at peace within the very system he once set on fire. And once that image stuck, there was no erasing it. The reaction was instant. Social media exploded with clips, comments, and disbelief from every corner of the internet. The moment went viral, not because it was shocking, but because Gutfeld said what countless longtime Stern fans had been whispering for years. Suddenly, one question echoed everywhere. Can anyone truly stay a rebel forever?
Stern got even more pathetic, wondering how she doesn't nap.
When you said you don't nap, I get it, because like what you've taken on is extraordinarily difficult. And I mean, do you feel the pressure of the moment in the sense that, like when I met you out in the hall, I said, I'm really nervous because I want this to go well for you. I want it to go well for the country.
Hold on. I need a minute.
Is it inevitable? Do all firebrands eventually become part of the same establishment they once swore to burn down? Or worse, do they start defending it once they found comfort at the table? Gutfeld didn't just say Stern had changed, he went even further. The problem, he hinted, wasn't evolution, it was motivation. This wasn't enlightenment, it looked like self-preservation. The man who once feared nothing now seemed terrified of offending anyone. The voice that used to shred celebrity culture now appeared desperate to be embraced by it. To Gutfeld, that wasn't growth, it was surrender. And Stern's silence only twisted the knife deeper. The king of comebacks, the man who once faced critics with fire, suddenly had no fight left, no spark, no roar, just emptiness. It left viewers wondering, had Stern run out of steam? Was he blindsided? Or maybe deep down, did he quietly agree?
This definition of woke, it's if you call someone a know-it-all, you're not complimenting them on the breadth of their knowledge. You're saying you don't know as much as you think you know. So yeah, woke doesn't have anything to do with vaccines. What it really means is sort of a slavish devotion to left-wing ideology and then repeating it so you can get social credit.
Right.
That's really what it means.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're smarter than anybody. And he had said in another part of this set, because I believe in the science. Well, if you believed in the science, you wouldn't be hiding hang out like Howard Hughes in your mansion. So
Fans who once worshipped Stern's fearless fire were left asking, where did that edge go? It wasn't just that he didn't fight back, it felt like he couldn't. Gutfeld threw the punch and Stern didn't even blink. Not with strength, but with confusion. In today's world, where every reaction is a headline, Stern's silence wasn't just a miss. It felt like a quiet confession, and Gutfeld kept pushing, calm and confident like a man who knew he'd hit a nerve. He didn't brag, he didn't have to. The internet erupted for him. Thousands of comments, retweets, and viral clips shouting his message louder than any monologue ever could. What made it even more shocking was that Gutfeld wasn't attacking just any celebrity. He was going after the man who made a career out of tearing down egos and exposing hypocrisy. This wasn't gossip, it was a brutal reckoning with legacy. Stern was forced to face the shadow of his own legend, because that's the curse of greatness. Your past becomes your standard, and when you fall short, your biggest critics are the fans who once adored you.
I always hate that argument, like, what happened to the old Stern, or what people have changed. That's not what this is about. It's a weird disconnect.
Well, he hasn't changed.
No.
People have been calling him insane for 40 years.
Yeah,
that just used to be, this guy's nuts. And now they're like, oh, well, we're worried about Howard. He needs help. But I'll tell you, though, I'm a little sympathetic because what you said is correct, but I'm also a germaphobe.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just have a smaller apartment.
Yeah.
So it's like
The whole exchange, direct or not, felt like a ruthless reflection of the media itself, a mirror showing its slow decay. Gutfeld's rise wasn't a lucky break. It was fueled by the same raw fire that Stern once had, but seems to have buried deep. Unfiltered humor, fearless defiance, no patience for fake fluff. That was once Stern's crown, but now it sits on Gutfeld's head. While old school media trembles under censorship and corporate fear, Gutfeld crashes through with unapologetic truth that hits hard. He feeds the same hunger for authenticity that Stern once owned. But while Stern leans on soft interviews and social approval, Gutfeld storms forward like a wrecking ball through a crumbling industry. This isn't just a feud between two men, it's a passing of the torch. Not about politics, but about authenticity, or at least the illusion of it. And in that electric live moment, Gutfeld looked like the real deal, the one daring to say what others won't, even if it means challenging a legend. Meanwhile, Stern seemed frozen in time, clutching a legacy that no longer fits the man he's become.
Striking that the king of the most misogynistic humor ever now turns into a breathless over a progressive, hopelessly shallow candidate. But maybe that's the explanation. This is Stern's self-imposed penance for subjugating women to demoralizing stunts, capitalizing on desperate females thirsting for attention, even if it's from an oily paddle striking their bare asses.
Fair or not, in the world of media, perception isn't just important, it's everything. And right now, the question burning brighter than ever is, what happens next? Does Howard Stern dig deep, rediscover that unstoppable fire, and silence the critics who now see him as a ghost of his former self? Or does he keep cruising down the safe, shiny road, polished, praised, but stripped of the wild power that once made him legendary? And what about Greg Gutfeld? He's already proven he's not afraid to swing up, not afraid to take on giants. Could he be stepping into the role of the new rebel voice, raw, unfiltered, and fearless in a world starving for authenticity? One thing is certain, the torch that night wasn't simply passed, it was ripped from Stern's hands. That clash wasn't just another TV spat, it was a cultural earthquake, a generational handoff, a reckoning for the man who once defined rebellion itself. Whether you stand with Stern or cheer for Gutfeld, you felt it. Something shifted in that instant, because when a king faces the jester, only one can walk away with the crown, and this time, hunger won.